All right, just for this once, I'm going to do this. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the doors and all the people. Good morning. Welcome to worship with the Universalist Unitarian Church in Peoria. My name is Reverend Jennifer Innis. Clearly, I'm joyful about being here today and with this congregation in service with people of all ages at all stages of life. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We are so glad that we are taking this opportunity to be in community, to share joy and comfort and sometimes the challenges of our lives. We are an intentional community gathered around our shared promise to support each other's spiritual journeys. So let us worship together. All gender identities, sexual orientations, politics, race, and ethnicities, and our abilities. May we root ourselves in the values of this faith: compassion and courage, transcendence, justice, transformation, and service. And I'd especially like to welcome any newcomers who are joining us for the first time or have been joining us recently. It is an act of courage to come into an already existing body of people and to say, yes, I'm willing to be here with you, and shall we be here together? And as we are rooted in our relationships, we also recognize our connections with our neighbors and our land. For this is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They greeted the Europeans as they came down the Illinois River. So we honor the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. I want to offer a note about how we are together. This is the moment when I remind you to put your devices into worship mode. I see all the pockets being reached for at the moment. Thank you. This is our collective act of service for each other. Could be buzzy or silent. And also, I want to offer a note that we've reached a change in our how we kind of monitor and determine COVID guidelines and safety. So the Toward Live Church Task Force has come upon itself to say, you know what? I think we have fulfilled our mission of being a place where we could come back together in many different ways, as well as in person and online. And so the monitoring of COVID concerns will now be turned over to the administrative team based on the guidelines recommended by TLC, and we'll be going from there. So TLC is now suspended, and hopefully we don't have to reconvene them ever again. But we do, yeah, right, there's that. But we do want to thank them. We do want to thank them very much. And I don't have the list of names in front of me, but you're going to have to just trust me and say, let's thank the COVID TLC task force, and we'll be publishing that and doing a better job of thanks very soon. So, today's service, we are exploring our theme of belonging, and we are doing so in mind and body and spirit and food with our Ingathering service today. This is an all-ages service. Nursery care is available for our youngest children. The service is also streamed to the foyer for anybody who needs a different space other than the sanctuary, because some of us do. We also will have a potluck lunch in the fellowship hall after service. All are welcome. The intended plans for having outdoor water games have been shifted because of rain. That's a little irony, right? We're not outside getting wet because it's raining, but we have indoor fun for all ages. And I want to thank Jesi, Laughlin, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and the entire religious education team for pivoting yet again and making up plans so we could have some indoor activities. All right. So especially if you are new and have not been with us before, today is our ingathering, and it's our water communion. Now, this is a particular ritual, as many congregations, as we mark the new year of this congregation. We recognize that our lives are, different and sometimes often scattered over the course of the summer. And so ingathering is our moment of return. And for water communion, The idea is that each of us brings a little bit of water from our summer experiences, and we pour them into our common bowl that represents the meeting and the merging. You also, we'll do that later in the service, and you're also welcome. We have ribbons over here and Sharpies. You're welcome to write a note of something that you are bringing for the church this year and a blessing for the church for this year. And write that on the ribbons, and we'll have a chance to attach them onto our representative river in front of us, and also create the river together. And so, this month is also the moment for renewing our covenant circles for the year. So I want to invite our covenant circle facilitator, Joyce Rosenberger, to come and tell us a little word. Thank you for somebody put in water. I'm so glad.
Good morning. I'm Joyce Rosenberger. I am the coordinator of the small group ministry program. And in this church, we call our groups covenant circles. The small group ministry program is one of intentional groups, and they meet regularly. These small groups provide opportunities for closer relationships and a time to discuss topics on a deep level and develop deeply listening and sharing experiences. Currently, our church has 8 groups already formed and another or more ready to form. These groups are of mixed gender, or all men, or all women, and we also have a parents group, which meets by Zoom in the evenings, and that helps parents stay close to their children as necessary, but still have their own time. Each group has a facilitator, and all generally meet twice a month for about 2 hours. We have groups meeting in the afternoons, evenings. There's one after church services. Each group can determine the specifics of meeting times and places. Covenant circles have been an enduring part of our church for over 15 years. Some of these groups have existed for this long. The group I am a part of has existed for this long. And it is a very special part of my life in this church. Other groups have formed more recently. Members are free to be part of a group and make a commitment to that group for a year, and then they can change groups if they desire. During the pandemic, our covenant circles continued to meet by Zoom or on the patio or in some safe place, and now most of the groups are meeting in person. If you are looking to get to know more people, forming deeper friendships, having longer and more in-depth conversations than is possible at the coffee hour, consider joining a covenant circle. Sign up for covenant circles will be taking place throughout this month, September, and the groups will renew, reform, or form anew in October. Sign-up sheets are available in the atrium, and I will be at the table after church to answer any questions. Join our Covenant Circle program.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Now I invite you, as we enter into worship, to let us begin in singing. Please rise and body your spirit for our first hymn, number 145, As Tranquil Streams. Oh, I took all the hymnals from mine.
Our opening words this morning are from Deborah Hafner, A New Year for Beloved Community. Happy New Year. Happy New Year for our beloved community. Happy new school year. We gather together at the start of this new year as people of many ages, as people of many sexual orientations and gender identities, as people of many races and ethnicities, as people of many theologies and religious backgrounds, woven together in our love for this community. With our hopes and dreams and prayers for the year before us. With our hearts and minds and spirits for the year before us. With our hands and time and talents ready to be offered in the year before us. We gather together at the start of this new year. For those who stand here with us, may it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Come, let us worship together. And I invite the Smezrud family to come up for our chalice lighting.
We Gather as Many Drops by Leslie Takahashi. We gather as many drops, each winding our own path down life's surfaces and ruts. Here we pool together as a single body, flowing together for a time. Together we are a stream, at times even a river. For with our shared force, we can travel toward oceans of meaning and seas of connection.
This morning marks the return of the choir as well, so let us listen and enjoy.
They dance round your face. stories are told of witches and werewolves and old island gold. Stars on the river, they sparkle and spin. I wish I was with them again. Can you imagine a piece of the universe more fit for princes and kings? I'll trade you 10 of your cities for Marion Bridge and the pleasure it brings. Out on my run, the people are kind. They treat you to homeroom and help you unwind. And if you come broken, they'll see that you mend. I wish I was with them again. Now I'm good, I'll wish you go well. Sweet be your dreams and your happiness swell. I'll leave you here, for my journey begins. I'm going to be with them again. I'm going to be with them again.
So this is not just a new year for the church, we also have a new year in our leadership as well.
As we begin a new year together, let us offer our blessing to the lay leaders who invest their time and care in the well-being of this congregation. If you are on the Board of Trustees, or if you lead a committee, team, program, or covenant circle here, I invite you to rise in body and spirit and participate in this blessing. I invite all of us to enter a spirit of prayer or quiet reflection.
Spirit of generosity. We're grateful for these leaders who give of themselves and make this community strong.
Spirit of connection, bless them in their work of reminding us of our highest aspirations.
Spirit of encouragement. Bless them in their work. Orient them always toward manifesting love.
Spirit of life, keep them grounded in practices that nourish them in this sacred work.
May the fruits of their dedication to this congregation return to them 1,000-fold. We offer this in gratitude, in thanks, and in hopes for a wonderful new year. Amen and blessed be. Thank you. The work of the church is also everybody's work. It's everybody's effort. And it is one that we practice every moment and every element of the congregation's life as we prepare to welcome and meet our friends, our neighbors, and our fellow travelers. This is the moment when we receive the collection, when we offer a financial donation for the continued ministries of this congregation. We do so during worship because we recognize the value of being ready to greet and serve. And the act of giving is itself an act that is special and set aside, just as we set aside this moment, this hour on Sunday, to cherish that which we value the most. And in part of our service in the world, we send some of this offering out beyond our walls. So this month marks the return of our Share the Plate practice. So half of our undesignated offering will go to a named recipient, while half goes to the church. And the Social Impact Committee chose to start the return of the Share the Plate with the New Mexico Coalition for Reproductive Choice. This coalition is working with partners in Texas, including First Unitarian Church in Dallas, to cover the costs of transportation and abortion services for people from Texas. The Texas Coalition for Reproductive Choice tries to aid up to 20 people per weekend, and it costs about $1,000 per person to make this happen. The Social Action Committee so appreciates our efforts to do a little bit beyond our walls, if you will. But they'll also be putting together a list of local recipients to continue through the rest of the year. So if your offering is toward your pledge, please indicate that in a memo line or in an envelope, in the offering envelopes, which are now refreshed. Thank you to our volunteers who refreshed them yesterday. So again, half the undesignated offering goes to a recipient and half goes to the church. Thank you so much for your generous giving of all the ways that you and we give together. And now, after the ushers pass the plates, this will be the time for lighting of candles of care. You're welcome to come forward and offer a candle, light a candle for what is in your mind and on your heart. And as we're gathering in our Ingathering and Water Communion, this is also a time, if you'd like to take a moment and write a blessing or a gift for the year on the ribbons, and then we'll be attaching them towards the end of the service. And now, the morning offering will be gratefully received. Please let the plates come forward. I invite you in this moment. Be in this space. Be in wherever the space is that you are. Way into where you are resting. Breathe into the body, the very body that will be you, for better, for worse. In sickness and health and death do us part. Be in this day. Lift your gaze to the light, this one steadfast sun that watches over all growing beings, even you, even now. Be in this heart and break into the boundlessness of wild beauty, no beginning or ending in you, but flowing through like white water, reaching toward all that ever was and all that ever will be. For this is our time and our moment together. And this is our time for the sharing of joys and sorrows among us. So I want to offer a couple of notes of congratulations. First, to Sandy and Tom Crow. They celebrated their 37th wedding anniversary on September 7th. 37th on September 7th. Yes, yay. And we have a note from Phyllis and Jim Close that after finishing at ICC, their only granddaughter, Gwen, has transferred as a junior to Knox College in Galesburg, where she gets to continue her study, which is the dream of studying anthropology and archaeology. There we go. We got all the ologies going on. So congratulations to Gwen for a successful transfer and to the proud grandparents, of course. We offer wishes for health to Marcia Kafar, wife of Mary Mulholland Kafar. Marcia is recovering from an infection. And I also want to share just another joy. Thank you to everyone who's been preparing for today. In particular, because it's been taking, it occurs to me, this is the start of my third year for you, so it feels like it's been 2 years in the making to get to today. So yay, thank you. But also in particular, thank you to the dozen or so folks who came to church yesterday morning to set tables and dust and prepare activities and so much more. Thank you for all the help that went into making this moment possible. In our larger world, I want to recognize that September 11th is now forever in our collective cultural memory. 21 years ago, we had the awful news and the awful experience of planes being used as weapons in our world and in our country. And so many people died as a result. So many people died in the years after from illness because they were responding to the care of the people who were so hurt. This is a moment that we hold in sorrow, that we recognize the fear that went with that day, that we live with, but we also try to live in courage and the memory of all the courage that it took to recover and those who responded so bravely in that moment. And to remember that there is so much more possible because we have that shared courage together. We also, in our larger world, extend sympathy to the United Kingdom and those mourning the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. This is a complex mourning, to be sure. That might be an understatement to say that it is complex. The Queen was a figure of leadership in a rapidly changing world, and the monarchy was built on and continues to benefit from colonialism and its uncountable damage to lives and cultures. So we offer witness to all who grieve, and we offer witness to all who are angry, and we offer witness to all who will speak the truth of the legacy in its full complexity. And we also extend our encouragement to the United Kingdom as they enter this new age with King Charles III. Please join me, recognizing that all that is in our lives and in our hearts can't possibly be spoken in this moment, but we know it's with us. Please join me for one more moment of quiet that we share in solitude just within ourselves, but also we share it within the circle of care. Whether we are in person, whether we're another place in the building, whether we're gathering online, that let us take this moment of quiet and be present to all that is around us, all that is within us, all that is our life. Please join me in this moment of quiet. And in this moment of quiet, I recognized there were two joys that needed to also be shared. For Tim Harold and Bill Ordaz, who have welcomed a foreign exchange student from 6 years ago, who's visiting us from Slovakia, Andres. And also a joy from Bill that Michael Ordaz, Bill, Isaac's father, is attending worship with us for the first time. So welcome, Michael. And now, thank you for joining me in this pause. Amen, namaste, and blessed be.
So our time for all ages today, we're going to do a little group exercise, not calisthenics. We are celebrating water. Some of you may have heard some water last night on the roof of the car on your way here. If you listen closely, you may hear it now. Rain coming down from the sky. And we get a chance today to make our own water as we gather together. So, if you follow along with me, we will build a storm and calm down together. Okay? Are you in? All right. Sure, yeah. Because I'm not mic'd up today, so Reverend Jennifer's my crowd. Let's start by making some wind before the storm. Rub your palms together. And now it starts to sprinkle with your fingers on the pew ahead of you. I hear it. I hear the sprinkles coming down. And those drops get bigger and bigger, and they fall at a different rate. Do you hear the storm building? Now it's even louder. And it pours down rain. And the thunder comes. And then it comes back down. And here we go. We made it through the peak of the storm together. And it all comes back to still. And the wind blows the storm away. Thank you for making a storm with me today. All right.
All right. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join me for our hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home. Please be seated. So today is a moment when we join our siblings in Unitarian Universalism all over the country in starting this new year. And we do so with this rite, this practice, this water communion. But I want to tell you where this came from. It's a small act, you might say, the bringing of waters together, but it has more to it. So the origin of the water communion is a story of finding strength in complicated places. Over 40 years ago, in 1980, Unitarian Universalist women came together at the Women in Religion Conference in Michigan. They wanted to have a voice where women had been so long kept from being accepted as leaders in our own churches. This is 1980. And women were feeling disenfranchised from the lives of our congregations. They sought to create a ritual where all could contribute. And so the participants brought water from every corner of the country as a symbol of life within each of us. No matter their gender or age or color or orientation or ability, everybody could be present and participate. And when the women left that conference, they brought back that ritual. They brought a little bit of that water, each of them, but they brought back that ritual of the water ceremony to their congregations at home. But not only did they bring that water back and that ritual back, but they also returned because they had gathered and realized again the power of their work and presence together. They brought back a deeper charge to all Unitarian Universalists, women, to include women and female perspectives in our understanding of Scripture and who could lead in our congregations. You know, that 1980 for some of us just doesn't actually feel all that long ago. Am I right? Am I right? I was 8. I remember that. And I was of the generation that wanted to see what the power could be. So I so appreciate this conference and this gathering saying we can do better and we must. And that effort, that refreshment, if you will, that rejuvenation of charge and mission and realizing what we need to be about in this tradition, in our congregations as individuals, it led to changes. It led to changes so that, for example, while I was still early in ministry, More than half of the ministers were women. That was an increase of manyfold from the time of the Women in Religion conference. We have also continued to evolve, continued to expand. So we have more leaders, not just ministers, but more leaders who are trans and non-binary, more leaders and people who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, more who are disabled, more who are neurodivergent. We are more able to include the range of how we think, act, and dream, and how our history and where we come from ripples out into our lives and into those of our neighbors. It matters what we do. And we know in this year has reminded us like no other that we are still talking about women's bodies, women's lives. We are still wrestling over rights for all bodies and for every life. So perhaps we also can refresh and re-engage and renew and remember what it is that we are doing together, and that our little work locally makes a big difference globally. Because perhaps we can make one more measure, one more drop, if you will, of difference into furthering and making manifest the deeper truths of how we learn to regard and treat each other as human beings, how we treat all that is around us, our entire systems, our earth, and take up the further call for witness and advocacy for human rights, for healthcare, democracy, and the care of our planet. Yes, we can do that in one Sunday. Yes. We can make that difference when we take it into our hearts and into our lives. And we are doing that. We are doing that in this congregation because we are aiming in priorities with the board for connection and communication and engagement, for deeper connections with our families, and to nurture one another as future leaders of all kinds. And we do so within the embrace of a beloved community. We live into our commitment to embrace freedom and love, to welcome all, to grow who we are, and to bring that growth out into the world, and do our part for healing and wholeness. In Unitarian Universalism, we choose to gather. We give our values form and life, and we know that we are greater together than if we were apart, that we are part of a larger system and cycle of life. And we manifest that in this water ritual, because we bring water from the places we live or the places we have been and pour it into our common container. And this water mixes together. Every drop has some of the molecules from every place. So if you've brought a little bit, wonderful. But we've also got water to pour together too. Every time we have this water ritual, we add some from where we've been, we receive something from someplace else. We perpetuate this because we know we are part of the cycle of all things. It is to make tangible the sacredness of that which we are a part, the sacredness of all life. And all life needs water to survive. It moves and transforms and nurtures. It rises from the ocean, forming clouds in the sky, blown by the winds, returns to the land, and cycles again. Every one of us needs this. Everything, all the growing things need this in plants and trees. None of it is isolated. None of it is separate. And then it goes back into the air or the earth and continues to flow. And so, Jesi, if you'd like to come here.
We bring our water into communion to share with one another, just as we pool the many insights that inform our own singular experience. For a droplet of water alone has no color. It remains clear and translucent, almost invisible. But in combination, the many drops together can create a brightly varied rainbow. Unseen realities made real and present for all to witness. Together, we aspire to represent the full spectrum of humanity, to make love, justice, and hope all visible on earth.
So I'd like you to come forward. If you've brought water, you're welcome to bring that water, add it to our common bowl. We have water provided as well, representational water, because the molecules are everywhere. Am I right? And also, if you hadn't had a chance to yet, you're welcome to add a gift or a blessing to the ribbon, and we'll continue to add it to our growing river. I have to say, it is growing. It is lovely, and it is beautiful, because we all bring parts of it together. Ivy, would you play a little bit more of Blue Boat Home while we do this? So if you've brought water, you're welcome. If you want to simply come and pour a little water into our common bowl to represent our coming together, this is the time. We have so many blessings that are among us, that are within us. Yes, you're welcome. And more can come. If you think of more, you're welcome to keep adding more to our shared river. And if you've been online and want to add some, we'll write some on a ribbon and add them for you as well. And so, let me offer a blessing for all that has been brought before us, for the many waters that have been gathered, for the blessings and the gifts that have been shared. May the waters gathered here remind us of what each of us brings to this community and of the waters that have nourished us before we were even born, that continue to give us sustenance and energy for our life journeys. May we continue to honor and welcome and give thanks for the waters that nourish all the creatures, all the plants, all that is on this good and singular earth. And may we gratefully continue. May we gratefully continue on in this flow of life, in the cycles of life, and the cycles of water that are before us and around us. So may it be. And now, I invite you to join me in our closing hymn. I've got Peace Like a River, number 100 in our hymnal, and let us sing it with lift. Lift. Please rise in body or spirit. Because the river is not quiet, right? The river is rich. We sing with the depth and feeling of our lives within the circle of care in this congregation in the embrace of the larger spirit and hope. Let us sing forth. Jesi.
And we end with our closing words today from Vanessa Williams, Flame in Our Hearts. Like the flame of the chalice, may the flame in our hearts burn, remaining unextinguished. May it ignite our energies, our drive, our resolve to build, to dream, and to live into the world. That good which exists for for now only in our imaginings.
It starts with a drop, and then a trickle, and a burble, and a rush of water bubbling toward its destination, and finally into the wide and the sea. All rivers run through the sea, and today we brought all that runs into our common bowl. Though our experience has been different, the waters mingle, representing our common humanity. Today you came and shared in this sacred community, and so may you depart from this space, hearts filled with hope for new beginnings, a fresh start. So let us go forth, knowing that we can always return, that we shall return and renew and begin again and again. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.